Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Laughing Places. I'm calling it Disney Vacation Insights. It's a chance for us to chat with a travel advisor, I'll say travel advisor for now, and just bring you a little bit about Disney travel topics. And this week, we're going to be talking about Adventures by Disney with Heather from Mouse Fan Travel. And I found out just before the show, this is like a favorite of yours within the Disney world of travel.
My literal favorite product that Disney has, my favorite destination, my very favorite.
So I'm excited to learn more about it. I have taken a single Adventures by Disney. I took it with my husband and son. Last summer, we went on the one that takes place in Yellowstone. Mm-hmm. So it's a week-long trip, and it was amazing. And so I'm excited to talk with Heather and to share with all of you who are watching exactly what Adventures by Disney is. And you may be wondering, why are we talking about that today? Well, there is currently a limited time offer, and you can save on select 2025 small ship adventures when you book by April 15th. I'm going to let Heather talk a little bit more about the details on that, and then we're going to dive in and let you know what Adventures by Disney is and why you may want to take advantage of this deal.
Yeah, yes, you do. Anytime you can save money, you want to take advantage, especially with Disney. They don't discount often. So this is great. $500 per person is a lot of money. And what they mean by small ship adventures is river cruising. There's a couple of expedition cruises in there as well, but for the most part, it's river cruising. And they call them small ships because compared to a Disney Cruise Line ship, they are tiny, tiny, tiny. But that's for good reason, because the vacation is about the destination and not the ship. And so with this special offer, like you said, book until April 15th, you can get up to $500 off certain river cruise itineraries. It's not everything, it's certain. But if you want to do a couple of their expedition cruises, like you're showing right now, it's up to $750 off per person. So they have a couple of itineraries in February, March, and December of 2025 for a Galapagos expedition, and a couple in July for an Adriatic expedition cruise that are up to $750 off. So like if you're looking at Walt Disney World and they release this offer and it sounds amazing, it's not every day and every ship and every itinerary that qualifies for it. So you really do have to read the fine print or call a travel planner, and we'll tell you which dates qualify.
And yeah, I was going to say, and we recommend our friends over at Mouse Fan Travel, MEI Mouse Fan Travel. They are not only experts within your Disney vacations. You may hear them often talk about Disney World or Disneyland vacations, but they also are very knowledgeable within the cruise industry and the Adventures by Disney. So they'll help you navigate this unique Disney travel vacation package that is Adventures by Disney. Okay, so what is an Adventure by Disney? When I'm booking an Adventure by Disney, what is it I'm getting myself in for?
I love this because I think out of the Disney universe, this is the product that most people know very little about. Everybody is familiar with the parks. The cruise line is up and running now. Everybody knows about the cruise line. I think a lot of people have navigated from going to the parks to the cruise line, but either a lot of people don't know ABD exists or they just aren't sure what it is. So Adventures by Disney is Disney's guided tour arm of their vacation world. So you can go to the parks by yourself, but what happens if you want to travel the world? You can travel the world with Disney and have that familiarity of brand, you know, the quality and the service you're going to get. And then you get to go and see Greece and not have to feel stressed out about traveling by yourself, navigating a country where you don't know the language. They just make it very stress-free and seamless. So it is a high-end luxury guided tour product. What does that mean?
As my husband's coming in just real quick, Adventures by Disney is amazing. Be careful. It's addictive. I agree. We left our last one going, where are we going next? And Rich, one of your teammates over there at MEI, Adventures by Disney is awesome.
I find with Adventures by Disney, People don't know about it. Then they learn about it and they say, oh my goodness, that's so expensive. I can go to XYZ country for less money, which you can. And I'll touch on that. But then you finally bite the bullet and you do maybe, a quick 5-night Southern California getaway to the Disneyland resort in Los Angeles. And that's kind of like your gateway drug. And all of a sudden, oh, I get it now. I understand why this is such a great product. Because, like I mentioned, yes, you can go somewhere less expensively, but I will say that you will never receive the same experience that you will by going on an Adventures by Disney. You have these two wonderful tour guides that travel with you. They're called adventure guides. And they are with you from start to finish. And they handle everything. If you forgot sunscreen, you need bottled water, you're hungry and you need a snack. You need to get to the restroom. They're going to tell you where the closest one is. They basically manage all of the personal details that you could possibly think about on a vacation. They've got you. You don't have to do anything. You show up. That's it. They even go so far as to give you a packing list of everything you'll need and send you bags that you can pack your things in. Like every detail is taken care of. And then beyond that, you have local experts that come and go and join you at certain aspects of your trip. So if you are, say, going to China, they have a local expert in Beijing, a local expert in Xi'an, a local expert in Hong Kong that come in and tell you about their hometown. So you have the adventure guides, but you also have a local guide with you. So you're getting the most incredible in-depth experience, all while staying at high-end hotels in very centrally located, wonderful locations that are safe and easy to walk around on your own when you have your downtime. And you have all of your transportation on the tour. So whether that's trains, buses, interdestination flights, not international flights, that's all included for you. And all of your sightseeing is included. And I think that that is a very important thing I want to highlight. Sorry, my dog just jumped off the bed. There are many tour companies out there that cost less, but they don't include a lot of sightseeing, if any at all. They call them optional excursions, and you have to pay extra for those. Mm-hmm. And that really, jacks up the price. It's all included in ABD. So you just go, you show up, and you have fun.
As once again, Doobie coming in to say what was on my mind, and that is that think of it as kind of a cruise, in that when you book it, you will know everything that's included. And we spent very little beyond what our vacation cost was in booking the Adventures by Disney, because most of your meals are included. As Heather pointed out, whatever kind of excursions or fun adventures, kayaking or biking, or that's included. Getting you there is included. I mean, with your meals, you can have wine, you can have beer with your meal. That's included. You're not paying an additional fee for those. And then as a parent, having those adventure guides along was amazing. It was an aspect I didn't realize they were going to take our teen under their wing in the way they did. He fully embraced canoeing, and my husband did not enjoy it at all. And our adventure guide said, "Hey, Gideon, you were having so much fun. Do you want to canoe more?" And as he could tell, parents were tired. And they went out and they went canoeing for an additional period of time. And they were always on hand taking pictures of us. It's like having your own personal photo pass along with you on your adventure. So you really can just fully embrace wherever you're at.
Yeah, they act like babysitters, especially for the little ones. They call the little kids junior adventurers. And so on nights where mom and dad may need a break, usually about the middle of the trip, they will have a junior adventure night where they will do movies and do maybe pizza making if you're in Italy, or when you're in France. I know that you go to the Louvre and they take the little kids and they do a scavenger hunt around the Louvre while the adults go and tour and see all the artwork. So they're acting as your babysitter when you didn't realize you really needed it. But what I like too is that they really get to know the kids, and they act as kind of like a matchmaker, for lack of a better term, and they get the kids comfortable with each other and get them to be friends and interact, so that by the end of the first night, the kids are best friends, like they've known each other their whole lives. And that's great for mom and dad because then the kids are off playing and they have friends on the trip as opposed to just tagging along with you.
Yeah, no, the talent and knowledge of the adventure guides on our trip continually amazed me as we were traveling through Yellowstone, and they provide a sense of security and safety that is just so welcomed, because like in our family we aren't the most adventurous, which is why we've so often gone on to Walt Disney World or Disneyland. These are familiar locations with, you know, a little bit of thrill and entertainment, and but they're comfortable, they're familiar, you feel really secure. And these adventure guides provide you that in the most amazingly different, they really help you step outside your comfort zone. And it was amazing to watch the way that they would support people in trying new things, whether it was whitewater rafting or even just like different foods. They were so accommodating to those who have maybe a lesser adventurous palate, making sure that their food was provided, but they would let you try something. You know, you didn't feel like, oh, if I try this adventurous thing, then I'm going to be hungry if I don't eat all of it, right? They were there, they had your back with something else, and they would see that you didn't even have to ask. I noticed that they would come in and they would provide stuff to people. So it's I love Adventures by Disney, and I'm excited to learn more about these small ship. Are they called small ship adventures? Is that
They're calling them small ship adventures now.
Okay.
They're river cruises, but then they added in an expedition product. So now it's the big banner is small ship adventures. But before we kind of dive deep into that, I just want to highlight some of the things you said there. First, there are adult exclusive itineraries. So if you don't, you know, it's just a couple, or, you know, maybe your kids are older, you don't have to travel with little ones. They have dates that are for big kids only. Also, like you said, they make you feel comfortable. I've traveled with them many times all over the world. I went to China with them once, and truly it was one of the best vacations I've ever had. But they went so far as to navigate us through the airport. Here's what's going to happen. Here's where you're going to go. This is what's going to happen. You stand on the other side here when you get through. We're all going to go together, to the point where when I had to go home by myself, I was like, I didn't know how to get myself around the airport, because they take care of everything and make you feel safe in a space that you've never been before. And then they also have that Disney touch, which is why you want to travel. If you are a Disney fan, you know things like magical moments, and you love to see that. It happens on Adventures by Disney. I went to Peru with them. That was the most recent tour I did, and they found out that I grew up riding horses. And there was kind of like this Peruvian cowboy demonstration, and it was so beautiful. And all of a sudden, one of my adventure guides came up to me and said, "Heather, come with me." And I was like, "Oh, am I in trouble? What's happening?" And he walked me over to the stables and said, "You get to ride this horse now." And so where the area where they just did the show, I had 20 minutes to myself with this gorgeous horse just riding. They take the time to get to know you, and you know, do these magical moments for you. And then they also highlight Disney things. So, you know, when you're in Paris, you're going to see, oh, this is, you know, Ratatouille, or you may be in London and they'll say, this is where Mary Poppins was filmed, or, you know, you can add on a Disneyland Paris extension, things like that. So you get the Disney touch. And then the last thing I'll say is, if you have special needs when you're traveling, I have food allergies, they're incredible. They know that ahead of time. And, you know, like I've mentioned before, you have some downtime. You're not constantly with your tour group. They will write in the native language where you're traveling what your allergies are. So when you go out to a restaurant on your own, you can just present it to your server and know that, oh, okay, it's covered. I don't have to worry.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. So now that we've kind of given you an idea of what Adventures by Disney is, we're going to dive into specifically what some of these small ship adventures are. And like we wanted to share, they have a limited time offer if you book by April 15th. So we wanted to give you a chance to learn more about these while that offer is underway. Any particular one you want to start off with, Heather?
The Seine River Cruise holds a special place in my heart. So can we start there?
Okay, for sure. I'll follow you. What?
I got engaged on a Seine River cruise, so that's why we're starting there. Um, so river cruising through Europe is a hugely popular thing. And I think that for a very long time it had a misconception of being for older adults. I cannot say that is so wrong. It is truly one of my favorite ways to explore Europe because you get to go to big cities that you've heard about and tiny little villages that you never even knew existed. So you kind of get a mix and the best of both worlds. And you really get to be transported to this destination without having to unpack multiple times and move around. Your hotel moves with you. And you can kind of see in the bottom right corner of this picture, that's what a river cruise ship looks like. Very tiny and very different from what an ocean cruise ship is. And that's because these ships have to be small enough that they can navigate the bridges of the rivers of Europe or of Asia or South America, wherever you're going, because they have them across the globe. But what that means is these ships dock right in the city center. There's no hour and a half commute from the cruise ship port to the town that you want to visit. You're just right there. You can get off the ship and you can take a guided tour, or you can take a bike, or you can walk, and you'll be in the middle of the city in 10 to 15 minutes, if that. Wow. So there's not all the bells and whistles. You're not going to find, a pool with a slide. They have pools. There's no slide. But it's about the destination. And that's where river cruising is incredible. You are getting so deeply into these countries. It's just phenomenal. And go ahead.
No, I love the way that you're describing the river cruise as being your hotel moves with you, because that is one of the aspects that really struck me as I was looking at the itineraries of these various trips that we're looking at. That you have numerous cities on your chart here, but like you say, you have your room and your room's going to go with you. They dock right there at the city. So you're able to kind of use that as your main hub. I noticed with a lot of the itineraries, you'd have morning activities, you'd luncheon on the ship, and then you would go back out sometimes for your afternoon or evening activity. So it really does seem to be kind of that center hub as far as your vacation.
So with the Seine River cruise, it's a round trip from Paris, and there's options to add on a pre-stay in Paris, and then you can go to Disneyland Paris after. You can make it a whole thing, but you start and end in Paris, and you go up through Normandy. So you're going to see places like Rouen, where I did a chocolate tasting there, a chocolate making and tasting. You also go to Giverny, which is Claude Monet's garden and house, and it's so beautiful. You almost feel like Monet just popped down to the shop, and oh gosh, I have so many pictures of me standing on that bridge.
It blows me away.
It's just so I actually cried when Monet is my favorite painter, and standing there, it's a surreal experience. You're seeing these places you've always read about, and then you get to see them in person. You also go up to the D-Day landing beaches. So if you are a history buff, the Seine River cruise is a great option for you. And then, you're in France, so you're eating really, really good food. I mean, the number of cheese tastings, but also I think it's important to know that Adventures by Disney doesn't own these ships. They are not Disney created ships. They partner with my favorite river cruise company called AMA Waterways. It is a small family-owned company that's located here in Southern California, and they've been in the game for about 30 years. They are super popular if you know anything about cruises, but they are known as the foodie cruise line. And if you love Disney food, now they've paired with this company that has beautiful ships and fantastic food. And so in each destination, no matter where you're taking a river cruise, they are having local specialties. The menu changes every single day, and they'll have a burger and a salad for you if you want, but you can try oysters in Normandy or different spetzels in Germany, and they're trying to keep it as true to your destination as possible. And I know Doobie is vegetarian. I am vegan. You tell your server once day one, and they are like that. They change their wine menu frequently too, and I found one that I really liked, and so that they went out before we left port and stocked up on that wine so that they made sure I had enough to last me through the cruise, so that if I didn't like any of the other wine pairings for the rest of the cruise, I had the one I liked. So the service is there. But we should talk about excursions. Like you said, there's multiple in each port. When you do a river cruise with Adventures by Disney, you get 6 for the morning and 6 for the afternoon. So you can decide what it is you want to do. There's some that are very active, hiking, biking. There's some that are foodie experience, go wine tasting. Here's a cheese tasting. Like I said, chocolate making. There's some that are for families, and we're going to go play a game with the kids wherever we may be. They also have some that are for those people who may have mobility issues, which is great, especially in Europe, because Europe is not very accessible. So if you can't walk far, we're going to do a bus tour. And so you may not see as much as somebody who's doing the walking tour, but you're going to see the highlights in a pace and way that is comfortable for you. There's also 6 adventure guides on a river cruise versus the 2 of the land tours. So you get way more personalized service. And on top of the adventure guides, you have a cruise manager from AMA Waterways. So literally everything you could possibly want is taken care of for you.
One of the things I noticed with the AMA cruises was a wellness guide. Is that a experience that you gave a sampling of during your trips with them?
I do. I like fitness, so they a wellness guide doesn't have to be crazy. So depending on the time of year, they'll have spin. So if you like spinning, there's a gym on every ship. There's also a spa on every ship. It's small, but it's manageable. And if it's in the summer, they'll take the spin bikes out onto one of the decks, and you can do your spin class while you're watching castles pass by. They do a lot of yoga up on the sun deck, usually in the mornings and sometimes in the afternoon. So again, you're watching castles go by and you're in your downward dog. I do a lot of stretch classes when I'm on these cruises, because you have a morning stop, an afternoon stop. Sometimes you'll have an evening and you're walking a lot. So I like to come back to the ship and do a 20-minute stretch class. They also do digestion walks around the upper deck. So if you had a big lunch, you just as a group are doing a big walk. And they also do aqua fitness on their cruises that have the bigger pools. So there's something for everybody. I like them. I think they're fun.
No, they sound amazing. Now this cruise along this end, it's an 8-day cruise, and it includes 20 meals. So you're looking at 7 breakfasts, 7 dinners, 6 lunches. So just to give you an idea of kind of what that packaging includes as far as your dining.
Every single meal is included on a river cruise. Some of the land adventures, you have time to go off on your own. River cruise, you can certainly go off on your own, but every meal is included. They also do snacks in the afternoon in the lounge, and they have something called a sip-in sale, which is essentially a happy hour. So an hour before dinner, everybody can gather in the lounge, and you can have beer, wine, cocktails. They always do a cocktail of the day at this point. And then it's also good to know that beer and wine are included with lunch and dinner, and sparkling wine is included with breakfast. So,
is Adventures by Disney the entirety of the ship, or will there be other guests aboard as well?
When ABD is advertising these river cruises, the entire ship is ABD.
Okay.
Now, like I said, they partner with a company that runs the exact same itineraries. Those are there's no Adventures by Disney on it. But when ABD is doing it, is all ABD, and everybody on that ship is part of your group.
Now, I believe another rent with this same kind of cruise line as their partner is the Danube.
Yes, I've done that one too. I did. I'm like I said, river cruising is my favorite way to get around Europe. I'm not making that up. The Danube I did over Thanksgiving one year, and I did their Christmas markets cruise. It is, talk about magic, right? If you picture Christmas in your mind, you are picturing Europe at Christmas, and it was just so incredible. We got on board in Budapest, Hungary. We had so many tours. I could spend an hour talking about the tours that we did. My favorite was seeing how each country had their own Christmas markets. So we started in Hungary, went through Austria, and ended in Germany. Vienna, the Christmas markets in Budapest were small and intimate, and I really liked that. In Vienna, there were 7 Christmas markets, and I tried to hit as many as I could. And they are big and flashy, and the colors are everywhere, and it was just gorgeous. And then I think my favorite Christmas market, and it's one of the most well-known ones, is at the end of the cruise. You end in Nuremberg. And that is probably one of the most popular Christmas markets in all of Europe. And it was just the lights, and then the rides for the little kids, and the music, and everybody's got Glühwein, and every Christmas market has their own special cup. So if you are one of those people who likes to collect the Disney mugs or popcorn buckets, every Christmas market has their own that you can collect.
And I was showing, while you were talking about your Christmas cruise, I was showing some of the highlights of the non-Christmas, the other times of the year sailings over there with along the Danube, and some of the highlights that they mention are bike rides along the Danube. Mm-hmm. This amazing like treetop bridge adventure, which with adventures like this, you're gonna have an A, a B, sometimes mm-hmm. a C option. So if you look at this and go, no, thank you, don't worry. There will be other adventures available to you that are amazing.
Yeah, like we've said a couple times, in every single port, whether it is a tiny little village or a huge city, there's 6 things for you to choose from. And then you don't even have to choose them if you don't want. I want to go by myself. Okay, go. They have all of these adventures are included. They have bikes that are free for you to take. You just let them know at the front desk and they will pull bikes off the ship and you can go and do your own thing. So if you've always wanted to visit, Amsterdam, for example, and you have this itinerary in mind and these things that you need to do, and just for whatever reason, the excursions aren't really what you're looking for, go. No big deal. It's absolutely, you don't have to do any of these, but they have enough options that you aren't forced into one thing. They're all included in the price of your cruise.
And as we've talked earlier, they do have local guides that will come and join you at certain portions. And I'll admit it, when we were going to the Yellowstone trip, I was like, okay, I'm only going to be so interested in these hot springs. How many different times can I just look at water bubbling out of the ground? But when they brought in the ranger guide, Rick, to talk about them, all of a sudden, I understood this bubbling water is actually different than that bubbling water over there. And he kept me interested in something that I would have tuned out about the third stop we were making as we were making our way through Yellowstone. I would have been like, okay, I'm good. I've seen one bubbling pot. I've seen them all. But no, he really brought them each to life in their own unique way. And I appreciate that. And I'm sure that you have similar stories from your guides when you've been along the Danube or the Seine.
Yeah, they in typical Disney fashion, they figured out how to make learning fun. And in addition to the local guides that they bring you, on land, when you're on the cruise ship, there's entertainment every night. So everyone can gather in the lounge, and sometimes they will have a storyteller. Sometimes they'll bring in a local musician, and they'll make stops along the way. So there'll be like a little dock that you didn't even notice was there. It's just a tiny little dock with a parking lot on the other side. And a musician will come on and play with you, and then they'll turn around and bring her back. Like when we were on the Seine, we had an Edith Piaf, I don't want to say impersonator, but kind of, tribute musician. It was the highlight of our cruise. What else? Oh, when we were on the Danube, we had story time with our adventure guides, and several of our adventure guides were from the area and several were from America. And so they had our German and Austrian adventure guides telling us what it was like growing up in Germany during the Cold War. So you had this very heavy topic, but done from a personal perspective. And there was not a dry eye in the house, even the children, and you could hear a pin drop when they were telling these stories. On the Seine, also, the day before we went to the D-Day landing beaches, they brought in an expert historian, just to kind of refresh us on the history, tell us what we're going to be seeing, what to expect, but in a way that it was so fascinating. And you're like, oh, I kind of remember learning about this in school, but wow, it's mind boggling. And so they also have at night, a piano player that's on board, and everybody can dance and sing. And especially on the ABD itineraries, they're doing Disney songs, and it's just a fun time. There's never a moment where you're bored, but it's like a quiet entertainment as well, so that if you don't want to participate, you can go upstairs. You don't have to feel like everything is raucous all the time.
One of the highlights of the Danube trip, some friends of mine actually took the Christmas one this past December, and it's visiting some of the sites of from Sound of Music. So it actually, the town is among the stops along the Danube, and they had images where the IM-16 going on where that sequence, they have photos from there.
There is many photos and videos of myself and the owner of MEI Travel, Becky Mankin. She's watching, she's gonna be so mad at me. Where the two of us with one of our adventure guides, Veronica, we during the course of our cruise realized the three of us were huge Sound of Music fans. Where in Mirabel Gardens we are acting out Do Re Mi, like around the fountain, like singing, going up and down the stairs, like it's slightly embarrassing, those videos.
No, that's wonderful.
We were living our Julie Andrews dream. You couldn't tell me I didn't sound like Julie Andrews.
So if you want to dance around the fountain, we recommend that you visit our friends at Mouse Fan Travel, and they will steer you in the correct way to realize your Sound of Music dreams. Another river cruise. Are there dates that we should be sharing, or would you like to wait till later to talk about that at all? Or
chat again about this special offer that came out, because these river cruises are kind of evergreen. They, depending on the time of year you're going, they don't run every day, but there's enough of them, especially for this summer. If you're looking for your summer vacation, call us. Let's get you on one of these cruises, because they're fantastic and there's still room. But the special offer is specifically for 2025, and this just came out because they announced a new river cruise that has existed for a long time, but this is the first time Adventures by Disney is doing it, and it's a Holland and Belgium river cruise. So that's why we're talking about this brand new offer. The special offer is specifically for certain dates in 2025, and this Holland and Belgium itinerary is only in 2025 now. But any of the other ones we talked about are happening in 2024. So if you want to go this summer, there's that opportunity. But for the Holland and Belgium river cruise, for this special offer, they have 4 dates, which is April 13th, which is great because that's the tail end of tulips, July 26th, September 6th, and December 20th. So one in every season, I guess, with the special offer.
And among the highlights of this cruise is, of course, you're going to see magnificent windmills, because that's what when I think of Holland and Belgium, I think of windmills. There's a chocolate tour in Belgium with candy making, and then you'll also have a chance to visit the Royal Delft Factory, and there's a workshop, so you'll have a chance to make your own tile. You'll decorate it. You'll have a keepsake from this legendary factory. So one of the aspects of Adventures by Disney that I became aware of is not only are you attending these locations that have been carefully curated, but due to the unique partnerships that the travel company has, your access is often like, how you see those right now. There's a popular meme going around where it's like Instagram versus reality. And I found that with ABD, Instagram and reality were very similar. It wasn't like a person that found a way to not be shoulder to shoulder. It was that ABD was guiding me there in a way that I didn't end up shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, I have a really good way I have two good examples. First is the Sistine Chapel, right? You're in Rome. Oh my gosh, Sistine Chapel. It's you and about 5 billion other people. With your ABD, you get a private after hours tour. So it's just you and the up to 40 people that might be on your adventure. So you're seeing these incredible destinations privately. That alone to me is worth price of admission. But beyond that, your adventure guides are so familiar with the destination that they know how to move you around, that you aren't with the crowd. So when I was just in Peru with them, for example, we went to one of the rooms called Ollantaytambo. I didn't even know this existed. I was there for Machu Picchu and Machu Picchu alone. I wound up loving this, but they rearranged our entire day. We still did the exact same thing on the itinerary, but they came on the bus and said, we're going here first because we just got a call that the crowds are really high over there right now, and we don't want you to be with the crowd. So we're going to do this first and then go over there later. That's the kind of connections that they have, so that you're having an experience where you feel like you're the only people there versus standing in a line with 7 other tour groups.
Exactly. The New Holland trip, it is an 8-day adventure, and it starts in Amsterdam, as I recall. Yes, Amsterdam.
I mean, who doesn't want to go to Amsterdam? I haven't done this cruise yet, and I really, really want to try it. It seems so exciting. But most of their cruises are 7 nights, 8 days, which is great because if you don't have a lot of vacation time, you get a really great vacation within a week. But if you have more time, they also have something called escapes that you can add on. So you're getting the ABD experience for your whole vacation. So the escapes can be anywhere from 2 to 4 nights. And so they have an Amsterdam escape that you can do first, pair it with your river cruise. So you get really in depth in Amsterdam with your ABD guides, and then you go on to the river cruise. So you can extend this vacation if you wanted to.
Okay. I was going to pull up a quick map so that we could share, kind of just give you an idea with this new one. Okay, but it's very small. So let me see if I can find a bigger picture. In the meantime, I think I'm just going to tell you, you're going to end up in Rotterdam, Antwerp, Brussels, Ghent. These are among the cities on your route as you travel throughout Holland and the Netherlands and Belgium.
I mean, just think of the beer and chocolate possibilities. If you are a fan of beer and chocolate, this is the cruise for you.
See, I'm a fan of tulips. So
me too. The tulip time cruises, which I don't know if they're going to have in 2025 for ABD, but I'm sure they'll do them for 2026 because Ama Waterways does them. Oh gosh, that's like a dream vacation.
So be sure to reach out to our friends at Mouse Fan Travel for more information about the new Holland river expedition river cruise that's happening. Expeditions, that's the Galapagos.
That's a big up and coming travel market that people are like not only Galapagos but Antarctica. All of like that adventure type cruising is getting really, really big right now, and Adventures by Disney has kind of recognized that, and they're stepping up to accommodate families in a market that has really not catered to that before.
I was going to say, this is definitely among those destinations that I've wanted to go to, but have been intimidated by. And and after experiencing Wyoming and Yellowstone with Adventures by Disney, now I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't overlook
it's a brand that you trust. You feel comfortable with them. You know the quality you're going to get. You know you're going to be taken care of. And I think that's why ABD is such a great product, because they make the world accessible. You feel like you can go because Mickey's not going to let you down. You're going to be taken care of.
And one of the other aspects I really appreciated in retrospect was how much they fit into our trip, because I would have not put that much in because I would have felt like I was over scheduling, but they're able to navigate it. And because you have, like in the case of Yellowstone, we were on a bus, And so, they booked us in locations that were well located to certain adventures at certain times of day. And so we were able to squeeze an awful lot into a short period of time while we were there.
Yeah, and plus you have that exclusive access. You're not waiting in line to visit the Eiffel Tower, you're just going. And so you're cutting out several hours of waiting around and moving yourself around. They're doing it all for you. They figured it out so you can see a lot more than if you were going on your own. I know because I also go on my own, and I certainly don't do as much as I do when I go on an Adventures by Disney trip.
Oh, and that's more and more a thing. We saw it as we were traveling through Yellowstone. They would drive that bus up and drop us off, and he would, go find somewhere to wait for us while there were lines and lines of cars waiting to have a parking spot so that they could get to see what we were, about to go visit. And also another big selling point for me of the bus aspect was we didn't ever have to use those long drop toilets when we always had that bus. I mean, it's not the greatest, it's a touring bus, but I'll take the touring bus bathroom over the just a step above porta potty bathroom that was available to us elsewhere. So yeah, so it was nice. It was the familiar, and that's the aspect of travel that once again I'm saying if you're somebody who kind of thinks, oh, well, that's not for me. You're intimidated by traveling to these unique destinations. It's a brilliant foundation for you to have as you're making these trips. There's so much familiar in the midst of so much that is unfamiliar that it is. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you've kind of dreamed of it but been like a little bit intimidated to do it on your own. As far as, let's see, we've got the Rhine River Cruise also happening over along the beautiful European waterways. And this is one of those where they have an 18 and over opportunity with the food and wine specific.
Yes. So, I think the Rhine River Cruise is the most popular river cruise. I think when people think about river cruising, they go to do their first one. It's usually the Rhine River because, it's familiar destinations, Germany, places you've heard of. They have a lot of the food and wine, beer, all of that. This is usually the gateway to river cruising is the Rhine. And for good reason, it's beautiful.
Now, Adventures by Disney isn't quite going to Antarctica yet, right? They're at Galapagos Islands.
They are so for 2025, they're at the Galapagos. And they also have some Adriatic adventures that they're doing their river cruising. But they are getting to the Antarctic.
Okay.
So they partner with Nat Geo.
That's right.
National Geographic does it a lot more than Adventures by Disney does, but they do have that Disney flair. So if you wanted to do it Antarctica, we can do it through National Geographic.
That's right, and it's that same level of curated adventure, so that you're in reliable hands as you travel. The Adriatic experience, that's a really little ship. It's kind of cute, but when you look at what the amenities on board are, okay, it has this lounge, Heather, that it's like partially underwater. Have you had a chance to see this, or are you just?
I have seen this, and it was like this was never a thing that was going to be on my radar. It didn't appeal to me, so whatever. And then I saw this ship, and I'm like, all right, okay, this looks really cool. I'm looking at it on my other screen there, so if you see me looking at it, that's what I'm doing is looking at this ship over on this screen.
Yeah, it's an amazing little vessel there, and like I say, I was really impressed with the amenity, the way the lounges are on the main deck to look out at the beautiful views you have. You can also go kayaking when you're on this.
This is a good like an in-between. If you're used to ocean cruising and you're not quite sure if the river cruise is going to be for you, an expedition ship is kind of in between, right? It's smaller than an ocean ship. It's bigger than a river cruise. Doesn't have all the bells and whistles of a standard ocean ship, but it lets you get out and be active. So like you said, kayaks. They'll usually have like a Zodiac type boat on there, depending on the destination. It's really about getting out into nature.
Yeah, they have those smaller boats, especially I noticed with the Galapagos, because that is just going to be so much getting you into the adventures of the Galapagos. Oh yeah, I'm sure we do sound a little bit because we are big fans. So our
Yes.
passion and excitement over it is
Well, this is not manufactured. This is truly probably several of the best vacations I've ever been on are with Adventures by Disney. So, we're trying to bring that passion across, I guess.
Well, I used one of the items that we got with our trip was our water bottles. They kept us well hydrated during our trip, and we got a little Adventures by Disney water bottle. I've since added stickers as I've traveled various places. The one from my trip with my travel stickers is in my armoire. I should have grabbed it. It sits in. It's
I
among
have several of them around my
collectibles.
house now. My husband's like, "Do we really need all of these water bottles?" And I'm like, "Guess not." But they give you presents.
Speaking of presents, when you go on these trips, they give you pins. I think I'm reversed, so I should probably fix my camera so everybody's not looking at everything all backwards. But there's pins that come with your adventure. So each day of the trip, they present you a pin. This one says Yellowstone Journey, and until recently, they hadn't been giving these out on they had stopped their previous pattern of giving these out to you on the trip. They'd send to you as like kind of a package as you were getting ready, but that's returning. So now when you go on an Adventures by Disney beginning in March, you're once again going to have that kind of special Disney magic of how are they going to unveil the pin, and probably I suspect the guessing games of what's the pin going to highlight. And
yeah, I think they had a lot of complaints about that, and they started it was a COVID protocol to just send them to your house with your presents. But it's a fun thing to be like, oh, we did pasta making in Italy today. What's the pin gonna look like? How are we gonna when are we gonna get it? It's just a fun little level of excitement. And every adventure has their own pins. You can only get those pins on the adventure. So if you are a pin collector, it's a great little keepsake.
And it does have the Adventures by Disney pin stamp on the back, so you do know exactly why they exist, where they're from. So once again, as we begin to wrap up, let's highlight the special offer going on, Heather, and be sure to let me know if there's something I've overlooked in my notes here.
I think we missed one comment earlier, but just to highlight the special offer, again, this is only valid through April 15th of this year, so you need to book by then. And it's only valid on certain dates on certain itineraries. So read the fine print or give Mouse Fan Travel a call. But what I will say is don't wait. Don't sleep on this special offer. If you're hoping to take advantage of it, it sells out, I guess is the best way to put it. So just let's say you wanted to do the Holland and Belgium River Cruise on April 13th of 2025. They only have X number of spaces that are at this discount. And once those spaces fill, no more. Even if it's April 1st and you still have 2 weeks left to book, if those spaces have booked full, that's it. You're not getting the discount. So if you know it's something that you want to do, it's worth it to book now so you can lock in that lower price.
Fantastic. Oh, okay. So I've had a lot of fun talking with you about Adventures by Disney. Did you say I'm overlooked something?
Yes, Narnia Expat asked a question about where you shop. And is it like a gift shop mentality? And I wanna speak to that because I have been on many tours where that is the case. And you go to like, oh, let's bring the cruise ship people here. That is not the case at Adventures by Disney. They'll bring you to places that are touristy just because you are a tourist and you're going to see Machu Picchu and a gift shop has popped up there. But if you go to your adventure guides and say, I specifically want to buy this, they will say, we know the best place to buy that. So as an example, on my Peru adventure, we were coming back from Machu Picchu and they did on a little train, there was a fashion show with all this beautiful alpaca for clothing. And our guides told us ahead of time, like, if you see something that you like, buy it. But we know a better place that is more authentic, that the tourists don't go, and this is legit the best place to buy it. So they're not going to steer you to a certain place where they're making commission, because that's not the Disney way. They are not making commission on these places. The guides, especially the local guides and the guides from that country, live there and they know the best places to shop. And if you tell them this is what you want, they're going to be like, here's my favorite place to go. It's up to you whether or not you want to wait for that, but there is no souvenir shopping day or stop, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say that I would say that was similar to our experience with the Wyoming adventure that we took. Another aspect was when you are with the various entertainment that happened, it was presented in such a way that if you were maybe tired or needed just kind of space, you didn't feel kind of locked into it. It was presented in such a way that you could experience it for a bit and then maybe dip out.
Yeah.
Once you'd had your fill, without feeling rude, without feeling like it was a big display of you were leaving, which I appreciate, because you don't want to, you appreciate the time that the entertainers are taking and everything, but yet also, you're on vacation, and sometimes
you decide what you want to do and how long you want to do it.
Yeah, you just want to rest. So yeah, I appreciate that very much. So these small ship adventures, they've got you can visit the Adriatic, they've got the Galapagos. Those are more of the kind of that expedition. Those are your smaller trips. And then for the river cruises, you've got the Holland and Belgium itinerary, you've got the Danube, the Rhine, the Seine. These are all available destinations from Adventures by Disney, and in many of them are available with this special limited time offer. So we want to make sure that if you have been considering it, be sure to give a call out to our friends over at Mouse Fan Travel. They do no risk, no obligation quotes. They're, as Heather often tells us, there's not an additional cost. So consider it that you're taking advantage of what's already included in the price, because there's no additional cost to using a travel advisor.
Yeah, and you know what? Let us handle the details. Adventures by Disney is going to handle all the details while you're on vacation. We'll handle it before, and then, I mean, that's the most stress-free way to travel ever. You don't have to worry about anything. So why not? You literally have nothing to lose. No obligation quote. Doesn't cost you anything. And we're passionate about it, and we experience these types of trips, and so we are familiar with it, and we can speak from personal experience. So any questions that may come up, we have the answers for you.
And that was something I really appreciated, because I have some mobility challenges, and being able to find out more kind of the nitty gritty of what to expect with Adventures by Disney is so helpful and reassuring, because these aren't low cost. These are investments, and so I appreciate having kind of all the knowledge, making an educated purchase, and I like I say, I appreciate you taking the time to let everybody hear
above and beyond, especially when you're going to Europe. Even like I said, they're not accessible over there. That's not how they're set up. These are ancient cities, and so for clients that are going to Europe or London and Paris, I had to call ABD several times and say, tell me the type of equipment they can bring. Can there be scooters? What about a fold-down wheelchair? What about this? Where are we walking? How many stairs are there? What is the bus like? To make sure you can, if you're going to spend $10,000, you want to know that you're going to be able to move about on this trip. So we're going above and beyond to make sure everything is taken care of.
And the level of service is amazing, and you get that Disney difference that we hear about when we're at the parks. You get that when you're in unfamiliar settings with and they have your back. And I story after story, if you reach out to somebody who's been on an Adventure by Disney, you will hear about the way that it was a stress-free vacation, thanks to that level of service. So yeah,
I've never had anybody come back from an ABD and say that they either had a bad time or that it was okay. You don't get even okay. It's always, that was phenomenal. I cannot wait to do it again.
Most of the people we were traveling with on our last one had been on one before. Yeah. There were not very many of us that this was our first ABD. And what is funny is we all ended up at the same table together. That opening night, they were like, "Oh, who here's on their first ABD?" And it was just our table raised their hands. It was kind of kind of funny.
But they're your friends for life now. Somehow people you travel with somehow wind up becoming like really good friends. I still chat with everybody from every ABD I've done. It's an experience, I guess, that bonds you a little bit.
No, 100%. I kind of think of it as like an adult summer camp. Yeah. Because you're tossed into that situation. You don't know each other at all, and then by the end, you're like sad. You're leaving these people that you met a week ago. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, it's so funny, but it's so true.
Unexpected and delightful, and I could talk forever about how much fun. I just printed out a bunch of pictures from our trip to send to a friend who doesn't have a computer, because we were talking about it on the phone, and I'm like, no, I got to send you these pictures. I was just printing those out over the weekend.
That's the thing we didn't say. Your adventure guides act like your personal photographers.
Yes.
So the entire trip, they're taking pictures of you. They're taking pictures of your local guides, of the activities you're doing. Sometimes you notice, sometimes you don't. And then at the last night, your farewell dinner, they put all of those photos they've taken into a slideshow.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of reminisce about the trip, and then after you get home, they send you a link, and every single photo that they took is in that link, and you are free to download them, print them, share them, do with them what you wish. So you have this really cool free souvenir that they were taking pictures of you and you didn't even know they were.
Yeah, while we were biking, I remember I saw some wildflowers, and I was like, oh, I would love to have that picture, but we're biking. I don't want to just hold up the whole group to do it. When we got our photos, there was the wildflowers were in there. I guess our adventure guide had noticed what I had noticed and had stopped and taken a picture. It blew my mind. I was just like,
yeah, even when, did you have river whitewater rafting on your?
Yes.
We did that in Peru, and I was so nervous or whatever, but they make you lock your phones away because, of course, we don't want to ruin our phones. And that they hired a professional photographer to take photos of us along the entire route. And I'm sorry, we had like 6 different rafts, and this guy got everybody, every time somebody fell out, every time somebody was standing up, they got every moment of that trip for all 6 rafts. So you didn't feel like you missed out not having your phone with you.
That is something I'm glad you remembered to tell people about that, because that was a delightful surprise coming a little bit after the trip. Was all those pictures. I want to say over 1,000.
Easily, because at both the guides, or in the case of a river cruise, 6 guides, they're all taking pictures of you, and they share them all. So in the slideshow, you might not get all of them, but then you get home and you have 2 or 3 weeks later, it's like, oh, I get to relive this trip all over again with all of these photos.
Yeah. So we could sing the praises of Adventures by Disney forever. I'm sure we'll be back again at some point to talk a little bit more Adventures by Disney, but we wanted to be sure to let you know about this new Holland and Belgium river cruise along with the limited time offer. Anything else going on kind of within that world of Disney travel you want to highlight as we begin to wrap up, Heather?
I feel like not at the moment.
I know in my world we're getting excited because the Lunar New Year is just around the corner at Disneyland. So I'm
excited, and it's about a little over a month and a half away. First it's Lunar New Year, and then Disneyland starts their Food and Wine Festival, and I'm heading down there for that. So I'm excited for that this year.
So as always, we thank you very much for joining us. If you're watching this later, feel free to drop a question in the comments, because we will see those and we'll happily jump in and answer any questions you have about Adventures by Disney. As you heard, Heather has a lot of personal experience on these Adventures by Disney. I've only taken one, but some of our team have taken a few as well. I know Jeremiah has traveled to Africa with an Adventures by Disney. We've had some team members do that around the world adventure.
I'm so jealous of that one.
So yeah.
I was sitting on the phone in Capri on my honeymoon, booking that for him and going, I'm so jealous I don't get to go on this. It's not fair.
So please feel free to drop any questions below. And as always, follow Laughing Place for the latest Disney news, whether it's from the parks, television, movies. Laughing Place will keep you up to date on all things Disney. So thank you very much for your time, Heather. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.